Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to give you guys another client lesson update. And this, for a lot of people, is their favorite segment. And I think largely the reason for that is that, number one, a lot of the people can relate to the things that we say here. Number two, it gives you guys some ideas of things that I learned that are applicable to a lot of you in your own training and coaching careers that I learned dealing with different clients. And so it's stuff that's useful to talk about. So for a lot of people, it has been their favorite segment. And if you're one of those people, please click like down below. It would be greatly appreciated. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some of my undereaters. And I know for a lot of people out there, they can't relate to this. I personally can't relate to this. I have no problems whatsoever bulking on a chicken and brown rice and broccoli diet. I can bulk. I could get up another 30 pounds from where I am now, easily doing that while doing conditioning work every day. I can't relate. A lot of you can't relate. In fact, I get people when we even bring this up, they're like, I can't relate to this at all. I find about a third of my clients are in this situation. Now, could it be biased because I am a strength coach? Yeah. Because I know I talk to a lot of trainers out there, and I have trainers like on my private social media friends list and stuff who are like, oh, all of my clients are weight loss clients. I'm like, I don't want those people. Like, I'm really and truly not interested in helping people get cut. I don't care. I want to get people strong. Now, if someone wants to get leaner, that's their business. They want to get leaner, especially to make a weight class, or they just want to be leaner later after they built a base, fine. And I certainly have those. But for the majority of my guys, they're trying to get bigger and stronger. Well, unfortunately, guys who have an appetite issue struggle with this. And what I have to actually do, a lot of my kids who struggle to gain weight, and I'll call them kids because they're almost always kids, only a couple of exceptions. By kids, we're talking, under about age 22, 23. Okay? Right? That's a kid, by definition. They oftentimes struggle with this. They struggle to gain weight. They struggle to eat enough. And a lot of them don't want to resort to junk food. Okay? Now, a lot of you out there saw Doug because I have posted him on my public Facebook. He was fine with me doing that, hitting some of his lifts. Like I think I put him up hitting, I think a 405 box squat, a 325 bench. And he's in the 170s. He's about 176, 177 right now. Something in that range. And he's a reasonably jacked guy. Again, you benching 325, you're going to have a fairly stacked upper body. Guy overhead presses 200 right now. Can incline 305. So pretty big upper body. So he looks pretty jacked, but he struggles to eat. And he admitted, because people would ask, hey, what do you eat? Like in the comments, he's like, well, what I do isn't going to apply to most of you because, Jason wants me to gain weight and I can't eat enough to gain weight. So he's like, I eat ice cream every day. And I think that kind of threw people off because he's not a fat guy, but it kind of shows you guys the struggles that a lot of people go through to gain weight. He's like, I try to get 200 grams of protein and I just eat whatever I have to hit my target calories. That's what he does. And he's like, it usually includes ice cream every single day. That's the difference between people who struggle to gain weight versus the rest of us. Okay? For most people out there, they're like, wait a minute, you're not doing a bunch of cardio and stuff? It's like, no. He trains 4 days a week. We do a little bit of conditioning, does a little bit of prowler work. Okay, a couple days a week, guy pushes a prowler around. Does a 4-day conjugate. He has to eat ice cream to gain weight. I have a lot of younger kids that are eating peanut butter. The problem we run into with these guys who need the peanut butter to gain weight, and I have several of them like that. Let's come back over there. They're younger guys. They're kids. They all have six packs. They're all lean. These are guys I've been bulking for months. So that's what people need to remember. And if people recall that with Mikey, we bulked Mikey up. I bulked Mikey up and he still had abs. And people were like, how's this guy? He has a six pack and he's gained whatever 17 pounds it was at that point with me coaching him. And I'm like, yeah, he eats 4,000 calories a day. Welcome to hyperactive teenagers who lift and you actually push hard in the gym. Their caloric needs are enormous. Like Mikey was doing like the go mad. He was drinking whole milk and eating sandwiches. Okay, my other kids, I have kids like this who I'm struggling to put weight on. They're gaining weight slowly, and they're I would say, like 11% body fat tops. And they're having to eat peanut butter sandwiches all day is what I put them on to get them to gain weight. And they gain like a pound a month, 2 pounds a month, tops. And a lot of them are tracking their calories, but a lot of them we're talking 3,500, 3,800, 4,000 calories to gain a pound a month. These aren't 200 plus pound guys. They're all very, very lean. They're pretty much ripped. So the issues we run into, training volume. Something I've said before with client lesson updates is that when you have people bulking, it's easier to get a better body composition in a weight gain phase if we push training volumes higher, right? Now, I've ran into one problem, and I'm not going to go into much detail. One of my guys who had been a former client right now, had been struggling with recovering from an eating disorder. He felt he was recovered. I felt he wasn't. He kind of took that on board too from that video, but the problem is that he never really bulked, and he got way too lean. So let's come back over and let's talk about the issues with this. Training volume can be a problem for these kids. Because what is it that we've said? Hey, you get better body composition if we run up to maximum recoverable volume. Why? Well, because we get a higher energy turnover, better nutrient partitioning, a more anabolic response to the higher training volumes, right? And it lets you eat more calories. Okay. When we have guys who are lean already, who need to gain muscle and fat, like they need to gain straight body weight to put on any muscle, right? Because they're lean already, they're not going to recomposition. You need them to be gaining some body fat at this point. Like when you have guys who have deep six packs and they still haven't built their base yet, they still need to put on another 20 pounds of muscle. We're not worried about maximizing their body composition. And if they're struggling, if these guys feel like they're going to puke all day while gaining a pound a month, the last thing we want to do is push their maintenance calories up higher. And I'm learning this dealing with these guys. Like a lot of them, I want to give them more training volume, but what do you think we have to do? We can't. I've got to trim their volume back, and I've got to say, look, no, we can't. We don't need this exercise. We don't need that. Maybe we don't need a bunch of lat pull downs and hamstring curls thrown in. Let's take you back to your basic barbell work. And what we have to do with these guys, I usually like to run them on a conjugate template. We do their max work, we do their dynamic effort work, and we find the minimum amount of supplemental work that they need to keep stacking on muscle. Okay, and it might only be 3 or 4 exercises. So they literally might only be doing squat, bench, deadlift variations on the MEDE templates, and maybe in some cases only 4 other movements. And it's usually going to be some sort of auxiliary press, close grip bench, good mornings. Those are going to be staples, rows. Okay. But what I find with a lot of these guys, throwing in a lot of the extra smaller movements that we would do for very large amounts of volume, they struggle with weight gain as we throw that in. When we try to maximize their training volume, they struggle with weight gain. And let's come over to that point. If we simply get more of a larger calorie surplus into these guys, they will gain muscle faster. We're not worried about gaining the leanest gains possible. We need them gaining weight. And if we take training volume up too high for guys like this, it just interferes with their ability to gain muscle. Okay, because they're too lean to recomp. Right? They're way too lean to recomp. They would gain muscle faster by gaining body fat. They would just get a larger anabolic response in their body. Also, because these are guys who struggle to get enough food in to gain weight, they're at a lower body fat, therefore their recovery is diminished. The higher training volumes doesn't produce the results we want. I find a lot of times the higher training volumes just start making their tendons hurt. Okay? Because we're dealing with limited recovery resources. So here's what I would say. For a lot of your skinny undereaters, not only do we have to hammer food down, we have to more closely regulate training volume. And I don't mean on the big lifts, because we're going to run the squat, bench, and deadlift in the appropriate patterns for conjugate. We're going to row. We're going to do close grip. We're going to do good mornings. But we've got to very closely regulate how many total sets we're doing of those things. We have to really start carefully looking at how much other stuff are we throwing in. Are we letting them do a bunch of curls? Right? Are we doing a bunch of lat pull downs? Are we doing extra high rep sets for hamstrings? All these things can start to become a problem. And it's not that this wouldn't help them if they were a little more advanced. It's that it just starts burning through too many calories and it burns through too many recovery resources that they do not have. When you're 10% body fat and you're struggling to eat enough to gain weight, you don't have the same recovery resources that a guy who's able to knock down 4,500 calories and a 16% body fat has. You just don't. And so we have to regulate their volume a little more closely, and it has to be brought down, right? It has to be brought down. Again, the fatter you are and the higher your caloric intake, the more training volume that we can recover from. We can get away with a lot more. But keeping in mind, it burns through a lot more calories, which is great for the guy who needs much better body composition. For the guys who need to bulk, it's a problem. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.